Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And today we have another Listener Stories episode.
Woo, woo, woo.
Do you like listener stories or do you like Tea Party? I say listener stories because as a description, but like in my mind, these are our Tea Party episodes.
These are our tea party.
I don't know. It just feels right.
That's what we've always called it. So.
Yeah. So we've got a good lineup of some really spooky stories today from you. So if you have a story that you want us to read on the podcast, you can email us at ghostiespod@gmail.com. It's written in the description. Also in the description is a link to our merch store, ghosties.store, where you can get our new hoodie. We're recording this before it dropped, so I don't know how it's going, but I hope you can get one.
How's it going? Feel like it?
It's a limited time drop, so if you haven't got a chance to grab one, go ahead and do that now before we're out. So without further ado, our tea today is Trader Joe's Harvest Blend.
Delicious.
A really good one.
It is.
Sent in by a listener.
Yes, and it shot to the top of the list of very good teas, so I'm excited.
Me too. Let's go.
Delicious as always.
Soothing to the soul.
Yes, and we're recording this early in the morning. I've started to really we've done 2 early morning recordings
We've
lately.
done more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, but recently we've done 2 early mornings, and the tea just tastes better in the morning.
It does.
Because normally we're recording at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and it's like, yeah, I like the tea, but I'm already dead.
You can't savor it as much.
Yeah, so I'm into this.
Me too.
Extra special today.
I usually drink tea in the morning, so.
Yeah, I usually
This
wake
is my
up
usual.
panicked with not enough time to even blink, so I don't
Nice.
ever get tea.
I'm sorry. Our first story today comes from Madison. Hello, these are all pretty short, but I thought they'd be fun to read. I try to ignore the paranormal things that happen in my life. I get scared easily, but a while ago, my family moved into a house, and I learned that the previous owner had died in one of the rooms upstairs. Pretty sure he died of natural causes. He was on hospice in the house when he passed. But one day, my family and I were all downstairs in the kitchen, and we heard a crash coming from the room upstairs. Turns out a floor lamp had fallen over, which was strange because no one had been up there, and those don't fall on their own. Things would fall off the counter all of the time in that house. I was never afraid of it, because I knew that the man that owned the house before was a nice guy. It was just strange. Every time something would happen, one of us would say, "Oh, it's just Dave." Okay, and for the astral projection story, I got super into spirituality when I was younger and became obsessed with astral projection at one time. I'd listen to the guided meditation, sleep on my back every night to try to induce it. I kind of gave up on it after a while, but one night I was sleeping and started feeling like I was vibrating and lifting out of my body. I heard a noise coming from outside and felt myself slam back into my body. I don't think I tried again after that. Super weird experience.
Okay, we just talked about Jen.
Yeah.
So saying like, oh, that's just Dave. Is it? Is it just Dave?
Now you have a new thing to fear.
Yes, dude. Yes. Not even fear, just question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the Jen episode has really altered the way I think like the glitch in the Matrix did.
Really?
Yes, because it's like, if that theory is true, if that lore is true, all of the ghosts and things that we think about or have talked about, it's like, what if they're Jinn?
See, in my mind, they are all the same. And like before I even knew about Jinn, I was thinking of like a ghost society on the other side.
Yeah.
Like my mind already like formed that, my imagination already formed that thought.
Yeah.
So it didn't alter me as much, but is it as interesting?
But that makes me question though. Sorry, she probably didn't expect us to go this deep into the
A previous episode?
Yes. But if we pass on and who knows where we go, are we going into the same realm as like where the Jinn are? Or is there another place where it's like the humans that were here previously, they go here and they can move stuff around? Or are they with the Jinn?
That is an interesting thought. I don't know. I have thoughts, but that's for another time.
I have so many thoughts that I won't know the answer to until I die.
Yes.
And it's very unfortunate.
You ask me these questions a lot, and I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah. Most of the time, I'm just asking just to get it out there.
The astral projection story, though, I find it so fascinating every time I read a story, and it's like they all have similar experiences, like the vibrations and the lifting out of your body, like that. That's like a process in and a lot of people's like purposeful astral projection.
Would you do
stories. No.
No, you're too scared?
No, yeah. I'm too afraid of whatever is waiting me.
Me too. If I could do it and like someone could go with me, I might do it. But
see, that would be fun. Like if we could like, hey, I'll meet you at the library in the astral realm. That would be really cool. But I'm too scared.
No, same.
I think I'd have to read a lot more to even entertain the idea.
I don't think I would ever entertain the idea.
But if you are currently entertaining the idea, send us your stories at ghostiespod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear it.
Yes.
That's like one of my most, like, I'm most fascinated about.
Yeah, so let us know.
Our next story comes from Esther. I have a story about a doll. I'm curious if it was haunted, but I want to believe it was just my imagination. When I was small, maybe 3 or so, an aunt gave me a porcelain doll. It was super pretty and very human-like, and I kept it in my dresser facing the bed. I loved having it there, but didn't play with it because it was porcelain and my mom was scared I would break it. But I would change the clothes every so often. One day, my cousin ran into it and dropped the doll, which broke the face. I was probably maybe 5 or 6 by then. My mom tried to fix it by gluing it together, but you could see the cracks on the face. After that, the doll started to freak me out. But it only started with me not wanting to sleep with it in my room, and I told my mom that it was moving. I would turn it facing another way, and the doll would be facing back normal when I woke up. I'm not sure if the doll fell once more, and that was the breaking point for me, but I thought that happened because I remember having more significant cracks after that. When I just got super scared of it, I didn't want it in my room, so I started hiding it behind an armory we had in the living room, and every so often, it would appear on my dresser all over again. Some time passed, and the doll still kept freaking me out because I thought it was following me as it would appear in my room after I removed her, time after time. So I started hearing her walk at night, going to my mom's room to see if I was there, and asking why I didn't want her. Still, I was sleeping with my mom so that the doll couldn't find me, and so she would go back to where I put it or back on the dresser. Until now, I could swear I could hear the small steps, but I was 6 with a big imagination. Now one day, my mom listened to the story I was telling about the doll while freaking my cousin out, about why I was scared of the doll, and in the process, freaked my mom out, so she threw the doll in the garbage one day. I found out what happened to the doll when I was maybe 15 or something like that, when I was telling a story at a family gathering. I was telling them I didn't know what happened to the doll. Just one day, it disappeared. I remember being happy that the doll left, never questioning what had happened. By then, my mom told us she was the one putting the doll back on my dresser. I don't think it was haunted, but the fact that it was so human-like and was glued together freaks me out. Sorry, this was long and not so well put together, but I love the podcast and keep getting freaked out by it. I still love it.
That's hilarious. I was fully about to say, you broke it. You let something out.
I know.
But still spooky.
That story freaked me out a little bit. Just the thought of the doll, like, where are you, Esther?
Yes, the dolls episode that we did, this was probably close to
many
a
moons
year
ago.
now. It was a lot more than I thought, and I thought we were just going to be like, ooh, like Annabelle. But since that episode, dolls do freak me out.
Really?
Yeah.
I've always been a little spooked by dolls.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story, Esther. I think it's so funny that you spent your whole childhood thinking that doll, something was up, and your mom was like, oh no, that was me.
That's so fun. Or maybe that's what she wants you to think.
Ooh, the doll or the mom?
The mom.
As not to scare Esther.
Mm-hmm.
Our next story comes from Matilda. Greetings, my name is Matilda. Yes, like the movie, I was named after it actually. Love that movie. I have been going through a very rough time for several months, and finding your podcast has given me a light. It's nice to get spooked and have my mind worry about other things rather than all of my own problems. I have an unsettling story of my own that I would love to share. Sorry you're going through a rough time, but I hope things are getting better. I would like to start off by saying, as a child, I was always experiencing things that scared me. Shadow figures, dreams that came true, hearing voices in my ears that weren't actually there, etc. As I've grown older, the experiences got fewer. However, I can still sense energies and am pretty intuitive. The story I'd like to share happened when I was around 16 or 17 years old. I had recently just ran away from my highly abusive mother's house and was living with my older sister and her husband. Behind their house was a tall stone, and atop that led into a forest. She had yet to explore it, and I really wanted to. I felt drawn to it. The first time my sister and I had decided to climb up, we were met with bright, lush green everywhere. It was truly enchanting. She went to take some photos when suddenly her camera stopped working. This happening the moment we stepped off the stone onto the forest floor. She took a couple steps back, and it started working again. We took that as a sign to leave immediately. We waited a while, at least a couple of weeks, before deciding to go back and explore. This time, we left a few apples at the base of a tree by the stone as an offering. Perhaps thanks to that, I got a warning rather than a deadly ending. Upon climbing up, immediately we noticed what was lush and vibrant not long ago was split in half with decay. Seasons change quickly in Vermont, but this wasn't the usual way. It was as if the half furthest away from us was still green and thriving, but the forest close to us looked black and dead, as if a line had been drawn down the middle. Not as if fall was coming, but as if a blight had brushed its fingertips along all of the plants. Immediately, we both felt unsettled, but I felt even more drawn than I had before. I noticed a nearby fairy trail leading from the dead plants to a large mound covered in thorns. I tried to peer inside the mound, but it was too dense to see anything. My sister wanted to go back, but I wanted to continue exploring. There was an overgrown path made by humans at some point, and when I went to traverse it, I was met by a large X of the thorns. Literally, 2 strands of thorns growing from the ground, growing high in a formation that gave a clear warning to not take the path. At this point, I really should have listened to her about turning around and going back to her home. I had foolishly taken the ominous X as a sign to not take that one path, rather than a sign to leave altogether. I turned on my heel and decided to walk in the opposite direction. We walked a little while when I noticed what I thought was a cricket flying by on first glance. When I turned my head to better see, as I've never seen a cricket fly in such a manner, similar to that of a butterfly, I noticed it wasn't a cricket at all. It looked like a little man wearing cricket armor with the tiniest acorn helmet atop his head. I had never seen anything so clear. As I'd said earlier, I've seen plenty of shadows, but nothing quite like this. I was so excited and wanted a closer look, so I leaned forward to peer behind the tree it had flown behind when my sister suddenly yelled. Upon turning around, I was face to face with a knife that wasn't there before. The angle of it was as if someone or something had thrown it from the ground. At this point, whatever spell I was under was starting to break. I was now also fearful and ran to my sister's side. As I did, however, I noticed something funny. The blade wasn't a blade at all. It was somehow transparent. My sister pulled out her camera and we were expecting it to not work as last time. However, she actually managed to snap a photo. It was as if it was permitted to remind us to never come back. I no longer speak to her and haven't in years, but often wish I still had access to said photo. Ugh, I know. If whatever threw that knife wanted me dead, I easily could have been. I've pondered that when we left the apples as an offering, we gained the favor of something that was trying to protect me from whatever was attempting to pull me deeper into the forest. I think of this often, and now, whenever in nature, I am more than respectful, and am very aware of whatever energies I'm feeling. If I get a bad vibe, even if I want to stay, I now turn heel and leave. Because next time, I might not get any warnings. I hope this story finds you well. I have a couple of other spooky supernatural encounters that I've experienced that I would also love to share. In the meantime, I also make cute spooky art. You can find me on Instagram at HydraBatCreations. Thank you for your time, both for reading this and for making your wonderful YouTube channel. Keep up the great work, Matilda. Like a fairy realm, like they were being pulled, fairy-led, in deeper into the forest.
Every time someone says, and they took a photo, but I lost it, I'm like, no!
I feel the same way.
It literally just takes all of my thoughts and I'm just like, dang it.
Do you ever see the Richie Valens movie?
The what?
Richie Valens movie. But at the end of the movie, it's based off of the singer Richie Valens. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the movie, his brother's like, Richie!
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel.
Our next story comes from Bailey. Hi, Ghosties. I have been binging your videos and love them so much. I have many ghost stories, some of my own and some that my mom experienced. One of the weirdest things that happened to me took place early one morning when the sky wasn't quite blue yet, when everything looked like shadows. My partner leaves early for work. He is a blue-collar worker, and he's often a bit all over the place because of his ADHD. So him forgetting things and being late has happened many a time before, especially at such an early hour in the morning. A few times, he has had to come back to the apartment and get something he needs for work. This particular morning, he had left already, and then I awoke to him standing in the doorway to our bedroom. He was just standing there, looking at me in the almost darkness. What did you forget? I said to him, and he just stood there. I was still half asleep, squinting at him, trying to see if he was okay. He didn't reply, just stood there. "Theo, what did you forget?" I said, and he still didn't reply. So I, in my sleepy mindset, just rolled over and went back to bed because he wasn't replying. Later that morning, once it was daylight, I messaged him asking why he came back up after he had left, and he was like, "What are you talking about? I didn't come back." And I was so confused because he had been in the room. Either I had some kind of weird half dream or, I don't know, maybe a ghost was mimicking him. I've never felt bad energy in our apartment, but oftentimes, late at night or early in the morning, our bedroom door will creak open unprovoked. I have a lot of scarier stories as well. If you guys are interested, definitely message me back. I understand you probably have so many of these to read through, and I definitely see you guys blowing up and hitting 1,000,000 at some point. Thank you for making spooky content and being yourself. Much love, Bailey.
Slow down, partner.
1,000,000 is wild.
It's a little crazy. But thank you.
We're just hoping for 100K.
We just want the one plaque.
The way it just stood there in silence,
Hate it.
staring back.
I now leave for work before Ryan, so my fears of that have gone.
Good. I'm glad you don't have to worry about that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because he doesn't have to wake up until I'm almost leaving. So it's like, I feel safe in the mornings now.
Good.
And I'm glad because that would have just scared me really bad if it was still the other way.
That still scares me really bad.
I don't like it.
Also, Bailey, of course, we would love to hear more of your stories.
Yes.
Our next story is unsigned, so anonymous. I have a very big, energetic golden retriever who likes to come into my room and wake me up early in the morning to take her outside. I've never been one for morning walks, so my dad has always been the one to walk her. Don't get me wrong, I love her, but the barging into my room at 5 a.m. every day gets kinda old. So I started to lock my door. The way my door locks is you have to push it in and hold the doorknob while you twist the lock. Honestly, it takes some strength to do. There is no way it can get pushed open by a light force when it is locked. One day I was feeling extra tired and decided to go take a quick nap. I made sure my door was locked and then fell asleep quickly. I start to have this dream where I wake up and I'm just laying in bed. I then walk over to my door, unlock it, and walk down my steps. I have a spiral staircase, by the way. I then have a conversation with my mom about her garden. After that, I make my way back up the stairs and into my room. Once I'm in my room, I walk up to my sleeping self, my real self, and just stare at myself sleeping. I then jolt awake and my heart is pounding. I don't know why, but it felt like I left my body. For some reason, it really freaked me out at the time, so I decided the nap was over. I started to walk over to the door, and I realized my door was halfway open. I knew for a fact that my door was locked shut before I took my nap. My initial rationale was that I sleptwalked, but I have no history of sleepwalking, and to get down my stairs asleep would be nearly impossible. Not to mention, I have trouble unlocking my door when I am groggy in the morning and have morning hands. There is no way if I was sleepwalking, I would have been able to open it. My door is genuinely that hard to unlock once it is hatched closed. I believe I had an out-of-body experience, and to this day, I don't know how my door opened. This isn't really a paranormal story, but still something spooky. I've always been a pretty spiritual person, so I would be more than happy to share some other paranormal stories.
In astral projection, are they able to see their own bodies?
Oh yeah, all the time.
That's the thing?
Yeah, well, a lot of times, yeah.
All right. So, but wait. They interacted with their mom?
Yeah. I wonder if did you ask your mom after, did we just have a conversation about your garden? Like if that happened. Did you ask?
Very interesting. I have tons of thoughts. Astral projection is one of those things that I
can't.
There's so much. Yes.
Very spooky though. I wonder if their astral self opened the door. If that's even possible.
Is that a thing though? That's what I'm asking.
I do not know.
Your astral projection self move things in our physical world here?
I do not know.
I still think of that American Dad episode where Steve astral projects.
You still haven't seen it? No. Tell me which episode it is. I'll go watch it. Our next story comes from Molly. Hi there, I'm Molly, and I'm a huge fan of the pod. I love paranormal podcasts, but I love Ghosties because the format is so casual. I can't stand the podcasts that have a spooky AI voice reading the stories. Your podcast makes me feel like I'm swapping spooky stories with my besties at a sleepover. Anyway, I've been meaning to send in my creepy encounters, so here's a couple for now. It was a Sunday night in the spring of 2015. I had my license for 6 months, and I was officially able to drive with passengers. I drove 2 of my sisters and a friend into town to pick up a pizza. It was on the way home that something strange occurred. For context, it feels like my family lives in the middle of nowhere, but we are only a 10-minute drive from our city in southern Indiana. A large university is just a couple of miles through the woods from our home. On our way home, we drive past the university sports complex with a walking path. It was dark, and I thought I saw a deer in the road, so I slowed down and turned on my brights. I was incredibly surprised to see that this deer was an elderly Caucasian man crossing the road. He wore torn-up jeans and a denim shirt. Brown leather shoes, his long white flowing hair and beard made him look like he had been living in the woods for a long time. Almost Manson family vibes. Upon further inspection, we saw that his hands were handcuffed behind his back. He walked slowly and robotically. I honked to let the man know we were there. He never looked at us, never flinched. He had just come out of the woods and was walking across the road toward the university. He crossed the road diagonally, so we only saw his back and side. I honked again, and he didn't even flinch. He continued walking at an even slow pace, totally unaware of his surroundings. We all saw him, and we were incredibly puzzled as to how he managed to get out of the woods to cross the street. I've lived out there my entire life, and I've explored a lot of this area. These woods were incredibly dense, filled with thorny bristles and burrs, but the most confusing part was that he had to clear a 4-foot-tall barbed wire fence to make it into the road.
Handcuffed at that.
He was probably capable of doing that, but he was handcuffed behind his back. He continued in a slow beeline to the university sports field. A small part of me wanted to continue driving and hit him just to see what would happen. We'd called 911 to report a possibly intoxicated person in handcuffs now walking toward the campus. Once he crossed the street, he continued at the same pace. We were afraid he was going to the campus where many parties were happening. He never got onto the walking path, just continued jaywalking through the grass at an unusual angle. For years, I thought about this. There's no jail nearby he could have escaped from. There's nothing in the woods he emerged from, minus a cornfield that is difficult to get to. No houses, nothing. And I was so unsettled by the way he walked in such a robotic pace, completely unaware of our presence. But the most unsettling detail was that we couldn't see his face. It felt like we weren't supposed to see his face. I woke from a nightmare years later, and my intuition told me it was not a living person we saw that night. I did some research, and I learned that it could be a residual haunting. Allegedly, limestone holds spiritual energy, which we have plenty of, an echo of a spirit, of a person that was there before at some point in time. Not some intelligent, haunting spirit that could communicate or acknowledge human presence, just a spirit reliving their experiences. Our dad said it was a hazing prank a frat must have done, but wouldn't they haze their pledges rather than an old man? I still have nightmares from time to time, never able to see his face. I wonder if his face was terrifying to look at, or perhaps he had no face at all. I drive this route home every day. I haven't seen this spirit again, but I think often about it. I hope to never see him again. Kind regards, Molly.
They don't necessarily have to escape from a prison. What if he was a prisoner of sorts?
Of somebody.
Of somebody. What if the frat was keeping some guy that was like their president from years ago?
Ew, what?
I don't know.
That's horrifying.
I don't know. Some lore.
Horrifying.
Like they just keep the founder. They keep him in the house.
Yeah. I hope that's not true.
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't move, like he didn't flinch. I mean, if you're out in the middle of the street at night, if a horn honks at you're gonna at least jump, right?
At least give some type of reaction that you like, oh, you heard it, or
not
you saw
just
it.
like zombie walk robotically across the way back into the woods.
What do you think it is? Residual?
I feel like, yeah.
But why handcuff?
I don't know. Maybe he was jailed. Maybe he, back in the olden times, was a prisoner and he escaped and was just like making his way through the woods to find help.
And that would make sense though, because they said like he was walking in a unnatural pattern, just like randomly.
It wasn't straight. It was just like, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that was like the old path. Like there was a road there previously or something. So,
or he was just making his way through the woods.
That too.
Very weird. Very strange. And very spooky.
I'd like to see what he looked like.
His face?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to see his face.
Do you think there was a face?
I don't know. The way that it was just so that you couldn't, I don't know.
Makes me wonder.
It's possible. That freaks me out a little.
Geographically, what's happening in Indiana? Why is so much always going on?
I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of limestone all over Indiana. I mean,
True.
there is in this town, at least.
Hmm.
Our next story comes from Mayra. Hi guys, I just wanted to say I've been binge watching your guys' episodes and I've become such a huge fan. Keep up the good work and congrats on your growing success. Anyways, my name is Mayra and I have a story that happened to my uncle whenever he was in his late 20s. The story was told to me by the two people who witnessed it firsthand that night, my grandmother and my mother. My uncle refused to speak about what has happened and kept what happened that night to himself until the day he died. Sometime in the 90s, my grandmother owned this small convenience store, and my mother would help her run it from time to time. It was a Tuesday night, and my grandmother, Julia, and my mother, Elsa, were cleaning up the store and getting ready to close for the day. That's when my uncle, Gabriel, pulled up to the store drunk. At the time, my uncle was known to be a troublesome individual. He was constantly getting drunk, getting into fights, being arrested, etc. Gabriel was outside screaming at both Elsa and Julia, causing a big commotion. Julia was telling him to not drive off because he could injure himself or someone else since he was intoxicated. My uncle did not care and was heading back out to his car whenever he let out a scream. My mother and grandma ran to him thinking something bad had happened. Then they saw Gabriel on his knees, screaming and pointing at his car. Diablo! Diablo! Julia and Elsa were looking all around the streets thinking he was drunk and seeing things that weren't there. No, he's on the car. He's crawling all around my car. Julia walked closer to the car to inspect what he was seeing, but she saw nothing. Julia said she remembers Gabriel's face being white as snow, and he was shaking, pointing at the car and crying. My mother said he wouldn't stop repeating the words, "I'm sorry and I'll change." Thinking that it was one of his drunk antics, my mother and grandmother dragged him to their car to take him home. My mother said she remembers Gabriel rubbing his hands together in the back of the car and repeating the rosario. He was never a religious man. The next day, Julia and Elsa were trying to make Gabriel talk about what had happened the night before. They thought that since he was sober, he would just tell them he didn't remember any of it. But instead of speaking, he grabbed a piece of paper and drew what he saw. My uncle was never an artist and hardly drew anything in his life, but the way he drew everything in exact detail surprised my mother and grandmother. I've seen the picture myself, and it brings me chills to this day just thinking about it. My uncle drew what seemed like a demonic creature crawling from the windshield to the top of his car. The creature had long, curling horns, vampire-like teeth with a snake tongue trailing down past its chin. Its hands and feet were incredibly long and sharp nails. The eyes looked like snake eyes, and even though my uncle drew the picture in just a pencil, not coloring anything in, he colored the eyes yellow. Ever since that day, my uncle never went back to his old ways again. He completely changed as a person and even started going to church. Every time someone in the family asked him about what happened, his eyes would focus on something in the distance, as if he was reliving the day again. But he would never talk about what happened that night. We never heard his side of the story, and it would forever be a mystery since he passed away in 2009. Days after his passing, my mother thought it was best to burn the picture that he drew, thinking that whatever happened that day be forgotten for good.
Dang. I thought we were going to get to see the picture.
The Lord, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's probably for the best. If your mom said, hey, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
I support that, and we probably don't need to see it.
No.
But
to scare him so badly that he completely 180s his life.
It's like a Beyond Scared Straight program.
Yeah,
but
for demons?
Demonic.
With demons?
Yeah.
Woo. All right, our next story comes from Sue. Hi, I'm Sue, and I have a few stories. I have really enjoyed your podcast. My daughter got me hooked on a different girls podcast last October for the scary stories, and then I found you and your All Scary Stories All the Time podcast. Yay. Story 1, I must say I did not experience this one firsthand, but was very disappointed that I didn't. We vacationed in Vermont many summers during my childhood. My brothers went for a walk to the corner store about a mile away on the main road. Unfortunately, they got a late start, and by the time they headed back, it was getting dark. Before they reached the dirt road that led to the 100-year-old cabin resort where we were staying, they had to pass a section of road with fields on either side. They looked to the right as the sun nearly set and a mist began to rise over the long grass. There they saw a man walking through the field at a distance. They kept their eyes on him as they walked and realized his long arms were swinging as he made his way along. They stopped when they saw that his head nearly hit the lowest branch of some random trees. These branches easily being 7 or 8 feet high. By now it had grown quite dark. They were just coming to the collective decision that this man didn't appear to be a man at all, but rather a tall being with large, dark features and covered in coarse hair. when the being stopped. It turned and started walking again, but because it was now night, my brothers couldn't tell whether it was walking away or straight toward them. They took off running and made it to the dirt road, only to hear the screeching of bats above them as they ran. When they finally made it back to the cabin, they were clearly freaked out. Word got around to all in the little resort community. One of the family dads was a scientist, and he decided to spend some time in the field the next night. Of course, he didn't see anything and didn't believe my brothers. Bigfoot?
Is it?
Covered in hair? Super tall? Off in the wilderness?
Yes. I don't know. It's
Or a Bigfoot-like creature?
Where did you end up on Bigfoot?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Yeah, I ended up as a maybe.
I don't know. I lean more towards something scarier than Bigfoot.
In this story?
Yeah. I don't
Really?
know. Because usually Bigfoot encounters, they're not trying to be seen. Like, they're always trying to, like, get away or hide. This one was just walking.
Yeah.
Right in their
well,
path.
I mean, I've seen a lot of stories like that where Bigfoot's just like going about its business and people happen to see it.
Oh, I don't know. And it's at, like, nighttime. I don't know.
See, maybe Bigfoot thought it wasn't going to be seen
That's
because it was
true.
night and it was in the middle of nowhere.
That's true. Also, love that the scientist guy would give it a shot. Hate that he didn't see it or believe them.
I know.
That is so invalidating. I've always hated feeling like I'm, like, lying, like I can't prove something. Like, no, I swear it happened. And they're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know. I feel you.
It always feels so unjust to me when that happens to anybody. I feel like a deep sadness and like, no.
No, I totally feel that. Story 2. I am a dance teacher and I own a studio. When I was young, I had a Halloween party for my top class in my apartment. Between all of us, we had 3 Ouija boards, and they all came to the party with the girls. We had usually used them at the dance studio and determined that one had a resident ghost who was one of the girls' grandfathers. He seemed to be a guardian for all of us. One of the boards had a girl named Debbie Vance, but we could always tell when someone other than these ghosts would come in because the intent became more dark. So at this point, I was sitting in a large chair with one of the senior students and we were just chatting. All the other girls were on the boards. 3 boards, all working at the same time. All of a sudden, I looked down at the girls and realized that all the planchettes on all of the boards were moving in circles at the same time. I jumped up and said, "Put 'em away, put 'em away." After that, I did feel like someone was watching me in my apartment, but nothing other than that happened. At the dance studio, we would hear people walking in when the door to outside was locked. We'd hear our empty soda bottles clinking together. Yes, this was quite a while ago. They were glass. And we'd smell phantom smells, and class would stop while we all investigated with sniffing all around the dance space. I did see something there once. I was just relaxing with music after work, leaning against the ballet bars, and through the mirror, I saw a short white fog in the corner. I thought, well, that's interesting, and continued to stare. Finally, after many seconds, I decided to look at the corner. It was gone, and when I looked back through the mirror, it was gone there too.
3 boards at once. I've never heard anybody doing that before.
I would be so upset that all 3 of those boards were in my house
It's like,
at the same time.
why would we do that? Why would we do that? Also, who is Debbie Vance?
Yeah, did you ever find anything out about her?
If you got first and last name, I would be deeply looking into her because that's interesting. Also, do we trust Debbie? I don't know.
Who knows?
Is it actually the grandfather? I don't know.
That's what's scary about Ouija boards.
I never trust the Ouija boards. I feel like it could very well be because we have heard some stories where someone's like cousin or friend that passed is like, "Hey, it's me. Only I know this. Like, love you anyway. Bye."
Yeah.
But you never know, and it's so scary.
Yeah, that's what freaks me out about all the like communicating with the other side is you never truly know if you're actually communicating with the person that they say they are. Like, and that is one of the most terrifying things. Like, you can't see them. You got to go by their word.
Yeah.
And you can't necessarily trust their word.
Yeah.
Story number 3. For a few years, my daughter went to a Catholic school affiliated with an old church. It was known to be haunted. Its story actually appears in one of these local ghost story books that you can find in bookstores, but my daughter did not know this story. She went in the restroom one day with her little blonde friend, and when she came out of the stall, she thought her friend had already left. While washing her hands, she looked up into the mirror and saw a little blonde girl standing behind her. She walked out of the bathroom assuming her friend would follow her back to class, but when she got back to the room, her friend was already seated at her desk. She told me the story that afternoon when she got home, but I waited to tell her the other side of the story until she grew up. See, it seems that over 100 years ago, a priest at the old church that still stands on the property, they have since built a newer one that they use for masses, received a visitor, a little blonde girl, who seemed desperate for his help. She said her mother was very ill and asked if he could accompany her back to her home. She ran ahead, and when he arrived there, a woman who seemed very ill answered the door. "But how did you know I'm sick?" she asked. When he answered that her daughter had come for him, she was very confused because it turned out her daughter had died many years before. I had heard the story many times as the church is right up the street from us, but had always thought of it as a fun local lore, until the day my daughter came home and told me what she had seen. I have a couple more, but we'll save them for another time. Thanks for listening and keep up the good work, Sue.
1, beautiful, love it, sad, tragic. 2, absolutely not in the bathroom.
Not in the bathroom.
Not in the bathroom, brother.
I think that story of the daughter saving her mom,
Yeah.
like, come help, she's sick. That makes my heart cry.
It hurts. It hurts bad.
Yeah.
But it's really sweet.
It is.
Oh my God.
So sweet. Our next story comes from Diana. "Hi ladies, I've been following you for about a month now, but I have already binged all of your videos. I absolutely love you, your aesthetic, and your cups. Thank you."
Thank you. Our
Today-
mom got that one.
Yes. Here's my story. A friend of mine, S, and I decided to go to a notoriously haunted river in Ohio around 3 a.m. just wanting to see what would happen. I turned off my car and my headlights, and we just looked out onto the water. Suddenly, my blood ran cold as I looked over at her and realized she was seeing the same thing I was. 2 shadow figures walking on the water. Walking. One was short and fat, and the other was inhumanly tall, about 8 feet tall and lanky with its fingertips touching its shins. I looked back at the water and realized the short one had started sprinting towards us. But that's not what scared us. It was the tall one that was slowly walking towards us with a big toothy grin staring directly into our souls. We went back to her house and decided that the only way to understand what was happening was to ask the Ouija board.
No.
We didn't get any answers until the planchette started moving from side to side, stopping at the letters Z-O-Z-O about 5 or 6 times before it violently went to goodbye and the board broke. It broke, guys. I have goosebumps just writing this into you guys. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I really hope you feature this on the pod.
What does that mean? Z-O.
You've never heard that?
No.
Okay, I don't even want to say the name.
Oh my God.
We
What?
can say it off the pod.
What is that?
Okay, so it's supposedly a demon. And when you, like, a lot of people encounter this when they're using a Ouija board.
Oh
And
my-
usually when it's doing that, like, it'll go Z-O-Z-O-Z-O-Z-O-Z-O and, like, go crazy. Or it'll go in, like, figure 8s. And it's, like, trying to break out of the board.
Oh my
A lot of
God.
people have encountered this demon.
Oh my God. That just like, I just got hot and then cold.
I can't believe you didn't know about it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm mad that I do now.
There are so many stories about it.
I don't like finding out names of demons.
Yeah.
It scares me really bad. Really bad.
Well, I'm
And
sorry I said it.
I know. How dare you? We'll cut it on the pod, but
Yeah.
oh my God.
I know. I feel so bad. One time I said, I'm going to say the demon's name. And then I said it like immediately after. And like people didn't have time to
So,
skip.
no, how dare you?
Yeah.
That's how I feel too, guys. I can't skip. So I'm with you.
Diana, I can't believe y'all did that.
I really hate it. Oh my God.
It broke.
Good. Burn it. Get
No,
rid of
that's scary. Like they couldn't say goodbye.
it said goodbye.
Oh, it went to goodbye? Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, it went to goodbye.
Oh.
It broke.
Oh.
So, wait, did they have something protecting them then?
Yeah.
That like no goodbye and like broke the board so they couldn't go back to it?
Yeah. What if those?
I just
What
got
if?
chills.
What if the things on the lake were actually protecting them?
No. The way it sprinted and the other one was smiling, just like slowly making its way, like no.
What if they're just creepy looking and they're actually just like,
You know what
"Hey,
it kind of reminds
guys."
me of?
What?
The little demons on Hercules?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking that same thing.
What are their names?
Pain and
Panic.
panic?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So maybe they work
But
for
bigger.
this demonic thing, or they work near this demonic thing, and they were like, "Hey guys, he's coming. You must get away."
I was gonna say it's about your car or your car warranty.
Oh my God, you're stupid.
Sorry. All right. Our last story for today is from Sophie. Hi, y'all. Before I get started, I just wanted to let you know that you guys are so great and I love listening to your podcast. I think I subscribed a couple of months ago and I watch your podcast while I'm crocheting or doing homework.
Thank you.
Love that.
Y'all are all too nice to us, but thank you.
So, a little backstory. I've had paranormal experiences since I could form memories, and my tia is a non practicing medium. I've always had an interest in spirits and the paranormal. I grew up watching shows like Ghost Adventures and My Paranormal Experience. I have a few stories, and I do hope that I hear it on the pod, but either way, I hope you enjoy. Story 1. My earliest memory of the paranormal is when I was around 5 or 6. I would spend my summers at my grandparents' house. I was always scared to sleep in my own room, so I shared a room with them until I was around 11. In their house, at the time, their bedroom was at the end of a long, straight hallway. In order to get to the family room, where everyone would spend time, you had to pass an open arch that looked into the living room. During the day, it was a pleasant room that no one would really go in, but once night came, it was spooky. My grandparents would always say that they loved the sound of my little feet running down the hallway towards the family room, but they never knew why I would run, not walk, down the hall. When it got dark, the living room was pitch black, save for the dim light coming in from the street outside. Being a little kid, of course I was afraid of the dark, but one night made that room even more terrifying. I was laying in my grandparents' bed watching Barney and Friends on VHS, and I decided I was over it and wanted to go watch whatever the rest of the family was down the hall. I got out of bed, and before I opened the door, I took a deep breath to prepare myself for the dark of the hallway. I stepped outside of the door, and in my peripheral vision, I didn't see the normal light that came from the window in the living room. As much as I didn't want to look, I turned my head and saw 3 completely opaque black figures standing in front of the window, very obviously inside the house. They were all the same height and did not move. I ran down the hallway and told my grandma about the people in the living room. She took me by the hand and took me to the entrance of the living room, and no one was there in the dark. She even turned the light on to prove to me no one was there. That wasn't the last time I saw the people. Sometimes it was only 1, and sometimes it was as many as 6.
Oh my God.
Here is some backstory for the next couple of stories. My grandparents moved into a new house when I was starting middle school. I loved that house and eventually lived in it full time with my parents in high school. When we moved in, I turned the office into my bedroom. I had a bathroom inside my room and unfortunately had a connecting door into my mom's sister's room. I started getting into brujeria around the time I moved in with my grandparents. Brujeria is the practice of witchcraft in Latin America, by the way, but don't worry, I wasn't cursing people or anything. Now, in my culture, it is common to have altars or ofrendas to honor deceased family members. In these altars, we have pictures and possessions of our ancestors, as well as baked goods and alcohol if they like them in life. Our altars were in the living room. They were in glass cases with a couple of shelves that reached the ceiling, almost. Behind the pictures and everything, there were mirrors built into the case. I'm sure you know that mirrors are seen as gateways for the spirit world, and that you cannot control who or what passes through. As much as I begged for them to let me lock the mirrors, they always brushed me off. Story 2. I always hated going into my grandma's room when no one else was there. As soon as I walked down the couple of stairs to her room, I got filled with a sense of dread and paranoia. I only ever went in when she was in there with the lights on. I wasn't the only person who felt that unsettling feeling in there. My tia, who is a non-practicing medium, also felt that feeling and wouldn't go in there either. One night when I was 16, I was sleeping in my room, which was cleansed and blessed by yours truly every few weeks, and I woke up. Well, I thought I did. I got out of bed and opened my door to the hallway. As I opened the door, I noticed that the hallway had a similar color grade as the further in Insidious, but when I looked back at my room, everything was normal. When I looked back into the hallway, it had a creepy, cool tone vibe. Despite the dread I started feeling, I started walking down the hallway and turned right to start going to my grandma's room. It kept getting darker and darker as I got closer. I opened the door to her room, and they weren't in there, despite it being the middle of the night. They had a large window that was normally covered with curtains that looked into the backyard. I was looking out the window when I saw something near the back fence of our backyard. I seemed to be frozen in place as whatever I saw started towards the window I was looking through. As it got closer, I started to make out more of what it was. It was a completely hairless man with no clothes on, but none of the anatomy it should have. It was a sickly gray color, and it was so skinny you could see everything moving under its skin. It stared into my eyes as it started to open its mouth so wide. It would have had to not have a jaw that connected. Its mouth was open so wide that its chin was in line with its collarbone. Although it was completely silent, I could feel that it was screaming. I couldn't hear it, but I could feel it. It started crawling in an inhuman way towards the window, and I found myself backing into the wall, farther away from the window. As if the glass didn't exist, it crawled through the window, not breaking eye contact, coming within 6 inches of me before I woke up in a cold sweat, screaming and sobbing. My mom came in and consoled me for an hour until I could finally sleep again. I don't know who or what that man was, but I never saw him in my dreams again, but the feeling in my grandma's room never left.
I was hoping you were going to say stared. That's why I was like, started or stared?
No, coming towards.
Oh, no.
Story number 3. On Christmas Eve, when I was 15, my great-grandfather died. Being Mexican, we celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve, so everyone was together already when we got the call. Fast forward a year, it was Christmas Eve again, making a year since my tata, the great-grandfather, passed. Now, most of the family, save for my parents and I, are casual Catholics. I say that because they don't go to church, but they pray to God and the saints, etc. Since it was marking a year of his passing, we decided to do a rosario. A rosario, to my understanding, is where you perform all the prayers of the rosary in honor of the deceased to show respect or something along those lines. Just as a side detail, we performed it in the same house where the previous story happened. So we all sat around the dining table. There were 8 of us there that night. One of those people being my tia, who is the medium. She was leading the prayer that night. A rosario takes at least an hour to do, so we were there for a long time. As we made our way through the prayers, things started getting strange. Whilst the prayers were being said, around halfway through the rosario, shadows started walking by the doorway into the dark living room. I was sitting in a place where I could see the altars with the mirrors behind them and the shadow figures. As prayers were being said, dark figures started to appear in the reflections in the mirrors as well. I was not the only one seeing these things either. The only other person who noticed was my tia. We were both looking towards the doorway when we saw a shadow peek with its head around the doorway before pulling away as we noticed it. Given that this was not about our paranormal experience, but honoring my bisabuelo, we didn't bring any of that to the attention of the family members. As we were approaching the end of all of the prayers and speaking the names of the deceased that we wanted to grant protection and peace, everyone's heads were bowed, except for mine and my tia, who was reading the prayer. At the opposing end of the table, my other aunt was sitting and praying. Behind her were 2 unopened packages of paper towels leaning against the wall. They were not flush with the wall, but leaned against it. While we were saying this prayer, the paper towels went upright and then fell onto her back. Now, the way they were leaning wouldn't allow for them to fall forward unless they were pushed. We all looked at each other, dumbfounded. We finished the prayer, and the activity stopped.
Oh my God. I feel unwell. Very unwell. Why are why are they being stirred up when they're just trying to do like a nice prayer? That doesn't make me feel good.
Here's a good view.
Okay.
They're saying the prayer to protect all of their deceased loved ones. They have the ofrendas of the deceased loved ones.
Huh?
Maybe it's them, like coming around and, just like
if that's how
coming
you feel,
to receive their prayers and thank them for prayers.
If that's how you feel, I'll go with it. Also,
I don't.
I can't. After
The pet ones.
the pet ones get me so bad every time.
I know.
Every time. And I see them on TikTok. It's starting as soon as the Burr month started.
I was about to say, it's coming.
They're like, I can't take them. I can't take them.
I know. It's
beautiful.
It's so sweet.
It's so beautiful, but it always just
I want to do
shatters
one.
my heart. I know.
Okay, just a random shorter story. My family and I went to Mexico to visit the town where my abuelo was born and raised. It was in the middle of nowhere, all dirt roads and no service. Overall, the trip was great, but I was 14, so I couldn't be bothered with all of that. One day, we wanted to visit the town's cemetery to visit a couple family members. We were trying to find a gravesite of one of our family members, but no one could seem to find it. Mind you, this cemetery was probably 1% of the size of cemeteries in the US because the town is so small. The men of the family were searching for at least an hour and a half while we were sitting in the shade because it was over 100 degrees. They came back defeated, talking about how they just couldn't find it. While they were talking, my tia cocked her head around them like she had seen something from where they had just come. She told them, "Check over there between those 2 graves," pointing to a couple of graves they had passed multiple times. They obeyed, and when they came up to where she pointed out, there it was, a brightly colored metal cross with the initials of our family member. She told us that when they were talking about how they couldn't seem to find it, she saw a bright white string of light appear above the grave and go back into where they had started walking over to it. Me, my mom, uncle, and abuelo went over to take pictures, pay our respects, etc., and I sat on the very corner of a cement slab next to the grave. One moment I was fine and annoyed because I was hot, and the next I felt like I was inside of my own head, watching through my eyes like it wasn't my own mind anymore. Suddenly I felt immense sadness within me. It felt like I was feeling the emotions of someone else, and I could not control it or understand the origin. Out of the blue, I started hysterically sobbing. Around this time, I was in my era of not crying in front of anyone, so it was surprising to everyone around me. I couldn't stop the tears. I was crying so much that I was gasping for air until my mom walked me away from the grave and the tears stopped like you turned off a faucet. I finally seemed to be back in control of my emotions and my mind felt completely at ease. I know this was a lot, but I hope you enjoyed my little stories from my childhood and adolescence. The paranormal and spirits have been such a normal part of my family's lives, so that was a fun little quirk of my upbringing. Anyways, love you guys, Sophie.
Love that the family member was like, hey, I'm over here.
Yeah.
Come see.
It's like they were feeling the emotions of somebody else.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe it's because that family member was like so
like overwhelmed with emotion.
Yeah, that they are there. All of them are there to see and pay respects and
That's
say hello.
A beautiful way, a beautiful thought to end this episode.
I would like to think that that's why and what happened, because everything else today, no,
was horrific.
Scary.
So scary.
Very scary.
That I won't get the image of that. The thing crawling.
Yep. That's exactly what I was thinking too, and we don't have to discuss it.
Okay. Thank you to everyone who sent in your stories. Thank you so much. These were a lot of fun. Remember, get your merch if you haven't had the chance to yet. Our hoodies, they're super cute, and the sale won't last long. If you like this video, please like it. Share it with your friends if you feel compelled to do so, and subscribe for more. We've got another exciting episode coming next week. It is very exciting. Y'all are going to love it.
I'm ready to see it. I don't know yet.
You don't know what it is?
No.
And it's going to be good. Also, next month is October, so the peak of our season here.
Yes.
We've got a lot of fun things coming.
I'm very excited.
Me too.
Very excited.
Super pumped. If you would like to, you can follow us on Instagram at GhosteasPod, and you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Ghosties. We have extra episodes coming every month, maybe a few extra other little things coming for Patreon.
And we
in
do
October.
some lives. We do some lives sometimes. Good fun over there.
All good fun. Other than that, we will see you on Monday.
Bye-bye.